Is it true that the Red Cross found no evidence of extermination or gas chambers at Auschwitz? Of course not. That's another really bad Holocaust denial lie. But it's incredibly easy to call out. So let's do it. So this claim is based on this letter from the Red Cross dated the 22nd of November 1944, and it refers to a visit to Auschwitz by the Red Cross delegate Dr. Maurice Roussel in September of that year. The letter writes that our delegate told us he had not been able to discover any trace of installations for exterminating civilian prisoners. But the reason why Dr. Roussel couldn't discover any trace of such installations is incredibly simple. He was never allowed to look for it. His visit to Auschwitz consisted of nothing more than a 45-minute conversation with the camp commandant in the commandant's office at the Auschwitz main camp. Roussel was actually interviewed in 1979 in Shoah, the 12-hour Holocaust documentary by French filmmaker Claude Lanzmann. Lanzmann asked him what he saw of the camp, and Roussel said, and I quote, "Nothing." During his conversation with the commandant, all he saw was a few of the brick barracks in the Auschwitz main camp from the window of the commandant's office. He didn't walk around the camp, didn't inspect any of the facilities, didn't speak to any prisoners, and most importantly, he never visited the Birkenau death camp and its crematoria and gas chamber buildings a couple of miles away. So, as you can see, presenting this letter at face value and claiming that the Red Cross found no evidence of extermination at Auschwitz when they were completely prevented from looking for it is deeply misleading. The Red Cross actually made multiple requests to inspect Auschwitz, but were repeatedly turned down. For example, a request in November 1944 was forwarded to Eberhard von Tadden, the head of Jewish affairs at the German Foreign Office. Von Tadden responded to this, and I quote the original German in his response: Die Lage Birkenau und Auschwitz kommen nach Auskunft des Reichssicherheitshauptamtes für eine Besichtigung keinesfalls in Betracht. According to the Reich Main Security Office, an inspection of the camps Birkenau and Auschwitz is completely out of the question. The letter continues that even German nationals and even Reich Main Security Office officials themselves only visit in exceptional cases, and even then it usually requires approval from Heinrich Himmler, the head of the SS. The Reich Main Security Office will permit an inquiry to be raised with Himmler, but considers doing so to be pointless. So, what was happening at Auschwitz and Birkenau that was so completely out of the question for the Red Cross to see? And furthermore, why was a visit to these places, even by Nazi officials themselves, so sensitive that it required the personal approval of the second most powerful man in Nazi Germany? One document that points to the real nature of what was happening at Auschwitz is this report by SS Untersturmführer or Second Lieutenant Heinrich Kinner, detailing a transport of 644 Polish prisoners to Auschwitz in December 1942. The report says that when it comes to Polish prisoners, only those fit to work should be brought to the camp, and that mentally and physically sick prisoners must be removed via liquidation. However, Kinner writes that there's a difficulty applying this measure because, according to the recommendation of the Reich Main Security Office, and in contrast to the measures used for the Jews, Polish prisoners must lose their lives naturally. So, the only possible conclusion from this report regarding the fate of Jews being sent to Auschwitz is that they were dying, and not from natural causes. Around 90% of those sent to Auschwitz were Jews from almost every country in Europe, and we know of course that they were being murdered in huge numbers because of evidence like this. This is a report by SS Sturmbannführer or Major Karl Bischoff, the head of construction at Auschwitz, summarising cremation capacity to his SS bosses in Berlin. The report explains that the 5 crematoria can burn 4,756 corpses per day. To put this into perspective, expecting to burn this many corpses means that the Nazis were expecting to burn the camp's entire population every single month, over 1.7 million people every single year. For the SS to anticipate and plan for the cremation of this many people very, very clearly shows that Auschwitz was never meant as some kind of harmless transit camp or work camp, and that the people sent there simply cannot have been dying from natural causes, just as Kinner's report points to. So as you can see, there's absolutely nothing honest or academic or intelligent about using the Red Cross to claim that Auschwitz wasn't a site of extermination. The most basic examination of just a couple of pieces of evidence proves that Auschwitz was very much intended as a site of genocide. That's precisely why around 85% of those sent there didn't survive to describe their experience of the place after the war, and explaining what happened to all those people if Auschwitz wasn't their final destination is something that Holocaust deniers have never done and will never be able to do.